that familiar theme song, let's go out to a familiar movie reviewer named Michael Snyder. He's out there on the left coast of the United States. He goes to the movies so you don't have to. Michael.
Alex, and sometimes it's a pleasure, and sometimes it's a pain, and we get a little pleasure and a little pain, and we know the difference. So we're here to tell you about what's up this weekend on film, and also something that's going to be dual released to both the theaters and your TV screen. So shall we roll?
Go right ahead.
Okay, it's not a snow job, but Snowden, writer, director, and activist movie maker Oliver Stone's part biopic, part docudrama about the NSA whistleblower and now fugitive Edward Snowden is a fairly conventional piece of filmmaking, especially considering how fraught with tension and danger Snowden's real experiences have been. It's also the sort of movie that might have been better made from a later vantage point in history when more of the situation has played out than feeling like a topical quickie or a cable TV movie made to capitalize on the controversy of the situation before the story really ends. Spoiler alert, it's common knowledge that Snowden is essentially a prisoner in Russia now, since he no longer has a U.S. passport. And if he asks to return to his home country, he faces charges of treason after breaking into and revealing a bunch of details.
Why are you telling us this whole plot when we know it?
Well, that's the point. Why is this movie being made when there's a great documentary about it? But let me continue. He does face charges of treason, and a lot of the film focuses instead on the love story between Snowden, who is, by the way, well played, incidentally, by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and his girlfriend, Lindsay Mills, played not quite so impressively by Shailene Woodley, who has been doing young adult sci-fi movies and other kind of cornball stuff since she broke through with The Descendants. Now, in the early scenes, you got to kind of shudder a little bit because Woodley is hampered by an obvious and less than convincing wig. After all the technical expertise that's gone into like showing what Snowden does in this film and how it plays out, really, you couldn't get a better wig. Anyway, the romance stuff intercedes for quite a while, and the movie kind of pokes along as Snowden pokes through digital data. Citizen 4, the recent documentary by director Laura Poitras about and featuring Snowden and his odyssey, far more informative and exciting than this film. And by the way, the making of that doc, which was done while Snowden was holed up in Hong Kong while on the run, is a significant element of Stone's film. And by the by, it features Melissa Leo as Poitras, Zachary Quinto as the Guardian reporter and on-camera interviewer in her doc, Glenn Greenwald, Tom Wilkinson as the Guardian's intelligence correspondent, Jolie Richardson as an editor, and on the heavy side, Rhys Ifans as Snowden's boss, Timothy Oliphant as an amoral CIA agent, and Nicolas Cage, for Christ's sake, as a Snowden mentor in the U.S. tech squad. I mean, it's great to see Cage in a film where he's not playing a lunatic with a weird accent, but that doesn't make Snowden a great movie. It's an important story, and we need to know the enemy here. But even with the biographical background and cyber spy mechanics that Stone adds, it's a better told story in Citizen 4.
Can we finally say that Stone is no longer has anything to give to the movie industry? And that, in fact, he basically sucks?
Well, you know, Platoon and Born on the 4th of July are a long ways away. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. And I wasn't that big a fan of Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah, you know, again, I didn't buy Tom Cruise in the beaten down older age makeup. Look, you know, the movie is important insofar as the story's important. And it does allow you to make up your own mind about Snowden, but it is not a great film.
Well, why not just watch the documentary?
Exactly. That was my sentiment. Okay, Bridget Jones' Baby. Oh, Bridget Jones's Baby. There's an extra S in there with an apostrophe. Look out. It's the threequel no one asked for. Or if they did ask for it, they did so in 2004 when Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason, the sequel to Bridget Jones's Diary, originally came out, starring, of course, Renee Zellweger, a nice girl from the American South, doing a fairly serviceable British accent and playing a frumpy journalist with love problems. And like the first two films, this one has her as the journalist, but now she's a woman of a certain age. Okay, she's in her 40s, maybe. And a TV show producer. She's in charge of a talk show, which features a woman grilling various celebrities and news figures. And she's again in a love triangle, only this time it's with more Botox. No. This time, it's not with competing beaux played by Colin Firth and Hugh Grant, but with Colin Firth being replaced. No, wait. Hugh Grant's replaced. These guys all kind of blend together. No, it's Firth versus American Patrick Dempsey. Grant is not in this movie for spoilery reasons, which I won't get into. And this time, the triangle isn't because she needs to choose between Firth's proper stick-in-the-mud Darcy and Grant's wild man of the world, but because she's unsure who impregnated her. Is it Darcy, or is it Dempsey's rich American online dating entrepreneur? So she's prego. I mean, have we gone from Bridget Jones's Diary to Bridget Jones's diarrhea? No, wait. There is morning sickness, but no diarrhea. Although maybe making this film is just sort of filmmaking diarrhea. Did we really need this? It's done well for what it is. But, oh, my God, talk about chick flicks. I mean, this is one of those where I recommend the men leave their penises at home. It does have a certain measure of charm, but, boy, it's as tired as Renee Zellweger looks in most of the film. Moving on, shall we? Blair Witch is the sequel no one expected or wanted to the groundbreaking found footage horror film The Blair Witch Project from those many years ago. Unfortunately, this movie that is basically about the sibling of one of the people in the Blair Witch Project disappears, and that woman's sibling decides we're going to find out what happened. They've taken their good old time about getting to the pursuit, but there they are trying to figure out the mystery of the Blair Witch. And basically, as opposed to the original film, this is a much more conventional horror movie. And it has jump scares, but you can make jump scares with ease. I could make you a movie with a jump scare. We know how they work. We know what happens. You just quick cut to something frightening and then make a loud noise, and there you go. Unfortunately, this film does not feature great actors. It's not innovative like the first film. And, if you like horror movies, it's another one. That's the best I can say about Blair Witch, which had a clever marketing campaign since it didn't use the name in the original marketing. It just called it The Woods. But so what? All right, The Beatles, 8 days a week. The Touring Years is Ron Howard's documentary about the Fab Four, and it is going to be available online or on cable, or it'll be available on video.
Let's just tell people specifically it's going to be on Hulu.
Okay, so it's unconventional that Hulu would do something of this nature, but they're moving into that kind of...
No, it's not unconventional. They've been doing it for quite a while now.
Well, yeah, this is original programming, and
admit
they started
it,
doing it with more frequency.
Admit it, you don't have Hulu, so you don't know what's going on there.
I know what Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon have done to change the face of television viewing. Let's not go
but
there.
I'm saying that Hulu is doing a lot of original stuff. They've done about 10 original things already.
Feature films?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. This is their first major documentary. Maybe, maybe not.
No,
Guess
no,
what?
wrong on that one. You're wrong on that one too. Anyway, go ahead.
I asked the question. There was a question mark at the end of that. Let's get to the film. The movie is considerably more than just the Beatles on tour. It actually goes into their origins to a point, and also to the eventual breakup. But mostly, it's about them as a performing, touring, and recording band. Yet you also get TV clips, interviews from then and from now, particularly the two surviving Beatles, Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, and you get archival interviews with George Harrison and John Lennon. And the movie shows their camaraderie, their relationship, what a great live band they were, and with the technological advances we have, the video and audio are now much better than the original versions of the stuff that came out here and there. And we're seeing footage that is not widely seen, some of which maybe hasn't even been seen before. I'm not really certain about it, or seen again. TV clips, concert footage. It is a treat. It is a nonstop delve into Beatlemania, which hit the world in, I don't know, I guess 1964, 65, 66, and the band quit touring in 66, but they were fantastic. And, of course, they did come back at the very end of their time together to do a concert on the roof of Apple Corps, their company, that was shot on film and released as Let It Be. And we do get some stuff from that point in time. And most important is to see how charming and funny and creative they were. They were a remarkable bunch, and Ron Howard has pulled together just basically a wonderful dip into Beatlemania. One of the interesting things that's attending this film project is that you also can see the Beatles at Shea Stadium in the theaters where this movie is being shown. You can't see it on Hulu. You may be able to get it on an eventual Blu-ray or DVD, but they have restored the Beatles at Shea Stadium. It's the entire concert, and again, it's attached to 8 days a week in theatrical presentations. And with the, again, technological advances we have, it's never looked and sounded better. You hear exactly how great they are. And it was so well shot, especially for its time. By the way, the cameraman included the award-winning cinematographer Gordon Willis, who worked with Woody Allen and many other major figures in filmmaking, and he was one of the camera operators at the Beatles at Shea Stadium. There is one angle and scene where you see their manager, Brian Epstein, up close, and behind him you see the band performing. The technical achievement is so considerable that when Ed Sullivan introduces them in the Beatles at Shea, you see how blue his eyes were. I mean, it's really a lovely
And yet I've seen that footage.
Yeah, no doubt, but you've not seen it this crisp and beautiful. It is fantastic. The set is 30 minutes long, and there are moments where you cut to the crowd and you do see the hysteria. There's one charming point where either two best friends or two sisters are actually wearing the same dress, and they're weeping and flailing. It is something to see. And again, the initial reason to see this thing is how wonderful the documentary is and how exhilarating the experience. So kudos to Ron Howard. You may not have made a great film in the narrative realm lately, but this documentary is pretty good, pretty wonderful. Mm-hmm. In passing, there was an Eddie Murphy movie called Mr. Church, which is basically about a guy who shows up in L.A. in 1965, an African-American guy who has been sent to keep the kid in the family basically on the straight and narrow. She's a cook. And he's a cook, and he's going to take care of the household. And, of course, it turns out that he becomes significant to this 10-year-old as she grows up. This is from Bruce Beresford, who did Driving Miss Daisy. And it's kind of like Raising Ms. Charlie, which is the kid's nickname. And Eddie Murphy gives his all as Mr. Church in this thing. But it's really not a great film. It was kind of, I was looking at the exits halfway through. I know Eddie Murphy wants to be taken seriously, but Operation Avalanche, again, quickly, is a found footage movie that actually works. It's set in 1967, and it's the Cold War, and a couple of CIA agents are at NASA, and they're trying to find a potential Russian mole. So they're undercover there as filmmakers making a documentary. And I really enjoyed Operation Avalanche. It's much more entertaining than it should definitely have been. they're basically unknowns who are cast in the movie, and the filmmaker is somebody who I don't know, a guy named Matt Johnson, and he co-wrote the script, and it's pretty cool. Something to be seen on video, Operation Avalanche. Yes, it gets a recommendation for me.
And so is that about it, Michael, would you say?
Yeah, let's wrap. You can check my stuff out over at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast on Facebook. You can like that. Mm-hmm. You can listen to me and Alex talking and read stuff, and you can follow me on Twitter at Culture Blaster.
Wait a minute. You forgot to ask me if there was anything on TV.
Well, come on. It's not really the new season yet. And
there's a lot of stuff right now. Are you kidding me?
No, you're kidding.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, out of England, and it's going to be on public broadcasting here on Masterpiece Theater. Victoria is just magnificent. It is just terrific. Starring, what's her name from Doctor Who?
Jenna Coleman.
Jenna Coleman. And really, really, just superior. I think all the Downton Abbey people will be very happy with this as a replacement. Also, the new American Horror Story is on, and it is scary as shit. It's a very good show. It's always been a good show, and it's especially good in its first episode this year, and it's really spooky. And even Chaz Bono is in it, so, it's amazing.
I actually hear he's a pretty decent actor. That's what I've heard.
Coming up Monday, one of my favorite shows, Gotham, is coming back on. And then there's a show, which I don't know if you've seen it, called Better Things, which stars Pamela Adlon in a show produced by herself and Louis C.K. and written by Louis C.K. and directed by Louis C.K. about a working mother. She works it's kind of Pamela Adlon's life, doing cartoon voices and trying to get into movies. So and has 3 daughters she's raising at the same time who are hell on wheels. And it's, I think, a special kind of show.
You do like it. It's Better Things, not Stranger Things.
No, it's Better Things.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, there are new programs coming up soon, so we'll continue to monitor that. And, I just thought, hey, come on, you've been so downbeat about TV lately, but nice to know things are changing.
The only show we liked during the summer was America's Got Talent. Now that's all over with, so. Anyway, tell them once again, where can they find you?
Culture Blaster at Twitter and Michael Snyder's Culture Blast on Facebook.
And that's it. Thank you, Michael. We'll see you next week.
You bet.
I'm Alex Bennett. Stay tuned for more GABNet coming up right now.